Alright guys, I'm in the garage tonight and I've rigged up my lift plate. This was the lift plate that I was using here whenever I had the engine up in the Alright guys, I'm in the garage tonight, and as you can see, I am using my engine lift plate to lift the Whipple. This thing is pretty heavy and there's no way I could do this by myself. So I just drilled 4 new holes in the MMR lift plate. This is a lift plate for Coyotes and Voodoo engines. It worked out great. It's pretty sturdy and solid. I tightened these down and I've got it suspended in the air just as a little test run here. And with that, I'll crank it up and slowly lower it down onto the engine. I'm just going to double check some things here before I bring it over here. I need to still fill this with oil and put the O-rings under here. So I'm going to get this tape off and get the O-rings on, and I'll pick it up and set it down. So that's my setup. It works. Alright. So I've got it tilted up. I went and picked up some silicone grease and I'm going to start putting in these O-ring gaskets here. They just go into the grooves there. So I'm going to get all those installed and get this thing flipped back down and fill it with oil, and then I'll be able to pick it up and go put it into place. Alright, this turned into a big nightmare. So I messed up a bunch of O-rings. There's these spacers that go on the injectors. So once you, with the spacers, okay, and all that, and you try to squeeze it in there, number one, it's a tight fit, but it goes in and they do not bottom out. The problem I'm having is the screw for this rail would not line up. It was always too far up. It needed to be pushed down. So I couldn't get the bolts in. Anyway, I ended up taking it all apart, looking at it, and going over this over and over. I took the O-ring off. Here's one with the O-ring off. And it just, that's where it bottoms out. It won't go down any further. So then I took the spacers off of everything. Now I'm not sure if it's okay to run this without the spacers or what, but let me show you them go in. Okay, that's everything with no spacers. I mean, it seems like it goes in kind of loose, really. I don't know if that's a proper seal or what. It seems loose. That O-ring is intended to fit inside this spacer, so the thickness of the spacer is gone now. I'm not sure. I'd probably have a fuel leak, but anyway, without the spacer, it lines up perfect. So I think I just need a fatter ring down here at the bottom. That's it. I've got to stop for tonight because I need to get this figured out before I put it all in the car. Hopefully it doesn't take me too long to get this figured out, but that's where I'm at. Okay guys, it's the next day, and after multiple phone calls and talking to Injector Dynamics, talking to Whipple, I really didn't get anywhere with them. I just took matters into my own hands and I just started playing with different combinations. So this would be the passenger side of the car right here. The passenger side of the car injectors, I had to take the top spacer off. So if I take the top spacer off, everything lines up perfect, and I can get to the bottom bolt hole. There's 2 sets of holes here. There's one set of holes on the bottom and then one a little higher up. So without the top spacer, I was able to use the bottom hole. It lines up perfect and everything seems good and snug. Now I've had this thing apart about 30 times and these bottom O-rings look a little boogered up, so I went ahead and I ordered new O-rings for the bottom. It's not a big deal. They'll be here by mid next week and I'll just swap them out. But everything else is fine on this side. So that takes care of the passenger side. Now let's go talk about the driver's side, which is totally different. And I'll tell you why here in a second, why it's different. So this is the driver's side. The driver's side is getting everything. It's getting the bottom spacer and it's getting the top spacer. And it is utilizing the top holes, which I drilled this hole out the next drill size bigger. So I drilled these two holes out in the fuel rail and everything's lining up great. So I'm gonna run this side like this because it lines up good and I'm not gonna mess with it. If I take the top spacer off, then this is too low and it won't line up and then everything will be loose. Right now they're all nice and snug. Everything's nice and snug. They just move just a little bit left to right like that, which is fine, but there's no up and down and there's no wiggling, which is what you want. So I'm leaving this side like this. If I take the top off, it causes a lot of trouble. And I'm going to tell you guys why. So, if you look at this, look at the gap right here. It's, I don't know, maybe a 1/16 or an 1/8. Okay? So this side is drilled deeper. That's just something done by the machinist at Whipple. Now let's go look at this side. This side here has about double the gap. And that's all the way bottomed out. So that's the problem. It's the depth of the injector hole. And that's it. So I'm going to have to run no top spacer on this side and both spacers on the opposite side. It all works. I'm happy. Everything's fine. Everything looks good, other than I need to swap out these O-rings on this side. The other side, I didn't mess with as much, and the O-rings look perfect. So I'm going to leave that side alone. I need to get 4 O-rings for this side, and we're all good. That took a little bit of time to sit there and figure out, a little longer than I would have liked, but I just wanted to make sure it was right. I do not want a fuel leak here. So I think we're good to go. I'm going to get this thing and throw it in the car right now. There's nothing else stopping me other than just turning this thing around. This will get a gasket eventually, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll just do that while it's in the car. I got the gaskets down here. Everything's good to go. So I'm happy. Let's move on. Alright, I'm working on getting the car down a little bit. These are the race ramps, and they split in half. So I'm taking one half out just to kind of get the car down. I forgot how tall this is. I think it's 6 inches. That way it'll be a little easier to stand here and work and stuff like that. I'm going to get this side off too now. Alright, there we go. Now the front of the car is pointed down a little bit, maybe a couple inches versus the back. So now I'm going to swing this engine hoist and the blower over to the car and slowly kind of set it down just to see where everything goes and if anything's hitting anything, any wires or stuff like that. So I'm going to work on that here for a little bit, and then I'll get right back with you guys. Alright, got it pushed over into place. This hoist and lift plate is a genius idea over here. Pretty proud of myself on that one. It makes it super easy. I'm gonna just slowly lower it in there and shuffle it into place. Okay, I'm just taking my time and lowering it little by little, and you just got to get over things like this, kind of get it under there. Check the back, make sure nothing's hitting. I'm gonna go down another little bit. I do not know how people do this by manhandling it. Can't be pretty, I know that much. Everything's looking good on this side. I'm just gonna slowly keep lowering it. Okay, we're about a 1/4 inch from landing completely. I'm gonna go pick out these 4 bolts that are 50 millimeters long. They go on the outer. They're on the outer bolts, the outer 4 corners, right there. And then you got to put a bolt through here and into the Whipple and torque it to a certain spec, and like bring this thing forward before you tighten all the bolts in the middle. So I need some blue Loctite, and then I need to go get these bolts, and these bolts here get little O-rings. So here's where it talks about putting that bolt through here and torque it to 22 pounds-foot. It says failure to do so could cause belt alignment issues. And boy, is everything tight in here. What's up with that? It needs to get rotated. I'll fix that in a second. But yeah, if you don't get your plumbing, your antifreeze plumbing done beforehand, you'll never get to that. It's really tight there. I mean, there's no room. Same with all this stuff here. Also, getting to the fuel rails is a little tight once it's all sat down in there. Now, I didn't run my bypass hoses in the back, but I think I'll be okay to clip those on there. I think that's why they're wanting you to do that outside of the car, but I need to replace those O-rings. So, yep, I'm gonna go find these bolts. Alright, this is working out real nice. I still have not sat the whole thing down yet. It's still being suspended by the hoist, but we're like 1/8 of an inch off. So I started the 2 bolts here, did not tighten them at all. I just screwed them in maybe about 3/8 of an inch in on both sides. That way it lines up my holes. You can still see some of the threads there. So now that it's all lined up, now I can let it all the way down. That way we're not risking those O-rings underneath from getting moved out of the groove. So it'll just sit down nice and flat now that I got the holes lined up where they need to go. So I think we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and just let it down. Okay, everything's looking good. I got 4 corner bolts on hand tight. They're not fully tight, and they're just loose. And now I'm going to do 22 foot-pound on this one right there. And then I think we can go around and start doing all the other bolts. I need to get the lift plate out of the way, and you'll get the other bolts for the top part. Alright, I got these longer bolts dropped in here. Put the blue Loctite, and now we're going to do a torque sequence, or a bolt pattern sequence. So it tells you here. I'm going to read through this. There's first pass, second pass, and whatnot. See how this works out. Alright, I got the main 10 bolts all torqued to spec. We did our first pass at 88 pounds-inch, and then we did the second pass at 106 pound-inch, and we just followed their torque sequence, and it was pretty simple. And I did not have any trouble getting to this bolt back here. I used a 1/4 inch drive, and I just stuck it through here, just kind of move these hoses off to the side. A lot of people have trouble getting to that bolt there, but it was okay for me. So yeah, I'm happy that I finally got this thing bolted in. Like I said, the O-rings on this side need to be replaced on the injectors. It's not a big deal. I'll get them probably this coming week here, by Wednesday, and I'll just pull these little bolts off, get this out, and put the new O-rings in and pop it all back into place. Then I need to run the bypass that goes behind here, and then there's another bypass that goes around there. So I got the hoses and everything for that. I'm not worried about it for now. I'm not sure what's next. I'm going to look through the instructions. Maybe I'm going to hold off on the lid. I'm not sure yet. I do need to plumb, I need to plumb all this stuff here to the supercharger, but that will be to the lid. Actually, I don't know. I'm going to look at the instructions and just kind of see what's next. But good progress so far, and yeah, it's on there. Finally, after all this time, I've been working on this project since the second week of January of this year. So that's not too bad, but I did the oil pump gears, and then transmission had to get out, put a clutch, the exhaust, the short throw shifter to take the interior apart. So I've been slowly putting it all back together, and I've been waiting to do all the supercharger stuff. So it's not too bad. I only work on this a couple hours a night, and maybe a couple nights a week, something like that. So not bad. Could be done a lot faster if you got more time. But we're making some progress. I'm just scooting right along. I'm trying to get as many steps as I can done tonight. It's almost 1 a.m. But I got the belt on, and I got it to 100 like they're wanting it. And to get that to 100, you got to first drop this pulley all the way down, get the belt on, and then run your breaker bar here up, and then with the other hand loosen the bolt and push it up, and then tighten it, and then drop that until you keep adjusting it till it gets to 100. Now I'm tightening the Whipple pulley bolts, and it's saying on those to do it at 130 pounds/inch. They just do the final torque after the belt's on and after the belt is tightened. So we're scooting right along. I think I'm about to call it a night. I got pretty far, actually. Connected these injector plugs, the harness, and I got this all clipped back in, and then I removed the factory fuel line. It says to go grab an 11-inch inlet hose, which this was the only one I could find, and it's too short. It won't reach. Kind of don't want to take this off the firewall. This is supposed to be 11 inches, but it's not. It's like 9. So, and then this is, I thought, was really stupid. This is an extension harness because I guess where this is located now, without this extension harness, it wouldn't reach the fuel pressure sensor. So they give you this ridiculously long harness, 16 inches. Like, what are you supposed to do with that? So I kind of thought that was dumb. I might end up trying to make it tight and maybe tuck it back here, and then I don't know, zip tie it all together. Whatever. And then I got that harness for the intake air temperature I need to zip tie all this stuff and make it clean, because that stuff bugs me, but it goes down and around that way. And then I got more fuel line that's going to connect here and go over the top of this too, so it's going to start looking messy. Well, I think I'm going to call it quits tonight. It's almost 2 a.m. and I feel like I made pretty good progress. I think this coming week I'm going to focus on getting the lid on. I already pushed this seal in. I'm going to get the lid on, and then I'm going to start messing with the heater core hoses, get that looking good. Maybe get the fans back in on the radiator and do some stuff like that, and just start plumbing as much as I can. Get the radiator hose back on. You're supposed to cut some of the radiator hose off. Maybe bolt the throttle body on. So that's going to be this coming week. So we're not too far away. Alright guys, thanks for watching and keeping up with my build. Okay, I'm finally able to get back out into the garage, and tonight we're going to work on plumbing to this here. So we're going to see what all is involved with that. I've pulled out this driver's side heater hose bag, and it's got, let's see what's in here. Got a piece of hose. I got a 90. I have a T. I have a union, I guess. Coupler, whatever you want to call that. Some hose clamps. These are heat shrink hose clamps. Some more heat shrink and some loom. Let's see, I guess I'm going to start with this here, which is the 90 and the T. We'll go with that, and then we'll dive into this next. Okay, that was pretty easy. Got the 90 on, and I got the T on. And I think eventually we're going to connect to it coming along down here and into there after we do some cutting. Okay, this is what I have so far. I shrink wrapped this, and I got the loom under it. I got the clamp here, and I got this all bunched up right now. And then over here on this side, I cut it right here, and I put that straight in there, and then I use the heat gun to put these clamps on, and then I've got this lined up here for when I push this up to there. And I ditched that long extension because I thought it was stupid, and I loosened one of these back here, one of these clips, and I got it to go on. It's a little stretched, but I cut some of the loom right here, try to get it some slack, because I just didn't like that. It looks a lot cleaner like this. And Whipple is sending me a new one of these. This was too short, so I got the new one coming in the mail because it doesn't reach here. This is supposed to be like 11 inches long, and it's not. So I got that coming. Let's finish up this hose. Okay, here's the finished product. I just took my time and just kind of lay right here like this. I used the full length, which was 24.5 on this hose. I didn't cut any of the hose out, so just kind of got it laying down like this. I don't think that's too bad. And I heat shrink this side real nice and clean, and then I got the loom real nice and tight by just pushing on it. And then back here I overlapped it onto the factory loom, and then I got this tucked in here like that. I'm just gonna kind of leave it just like that. And I ended up taking off this much, that much of it. Looks about almost a foot. I removed that much. Let's see. Yeah, a foot. I cut a foot off. I didn't know how much to take off, so I just kind of bunched it all up at the end, and I just started cutting and cutting it back until I got it to where I liked it. So it doesn't look too bad. I don't think we don't really have too much of a choice, just because of how this is and the throttle body sits there. It's not like you could 90 up and stay hugged up here. So I really don't know what to do with this thing. Does anybody know? It goes back there somewhere. But from factory it sits up here and here like that. I don't know what to do with that. Does it still get used or what? Does anyone know? Let me know. I'm gonna work on this side now. Okay, this is the passenger side. For the passenger side, all you get is this here.
Our two newest TRU's communities feature oversized home sites and convenient St. Charles locations. Arbor Valley and Westville on Highway N has beautiful rolling hills with home sites from half-acre to over 1 acre. Twin Silos 5-acre home sites are surrounded by
Guess you don't get a piece of hose?
just 5 minutes from Newtown. Home sites are limited, so reserve yours now. Visit trus.com for details.
Passenger side heater hose. Let's go look in the package, see if there's a piece of hose somewhere. Well, according to the instructions, I don't think you need a piece of hose. I guess you're just extending it. Not really sure why they would have given me this. I don't know. Well, let me go cut it. It says to cut it 2 inches after the internal water restrictor towards the firewall. So let me go find that, and then see what to do after that. So on the passenger side, I decided to do something a little different, and I put the factory connection on. It fits, but I'm gonna go straight across like that, and then I put that straight right here. I'm just gonna hook straight onto there. This all goes over here, so it'll just go straight in there. Don't know whether that's right or wrong, but I feel like it's right. There was a 90 there, and the 90 just, it was either too far over here or too far over there, and it just didn't work out right. This was the 90. The 90 kind of sat too far that way, or you rotated it was up, it didn't look right, or you rotated it this way and it didn't look right, because then it would try to turn that way. So I figured it just a straight shot right in. So I just, the kit didn't come with some hose. So just gotta go to the parts store and buy some hose. I'll finish that up tomorrow. Well, I got this side put together. It just clips onto there, and it'll go straight back into there. I just need to go buy a piece of hose, and this end here just goes onto there like that. And I think I'm just gonna buy a tension clamp. Just gonna make a trip to O'Reilly. That restrictor is still in here, so that's what I decided to do there. Don't know if it's right, but feel like it's right, and it's gonna look clean like that. That's it. Alright, I'm gonna call it a night. I cut 1 inch off of the upper radiator hose, I installed the hose that goes to the filler neck, I guess they're calling it, and it was very difficult to get to that clamp right there. You might want to put it on before you put the supercharger on, but this goes to your reservoir like that. I installed these fittings here. They get O-rings. It's all in the instructions. Pretty straightforward. I installed one fitting here, and then I installed this hose right here. I'm just kind of knocking some things out. And next up, I guess the next time I come out here, I'm going to work on this with the Y, which I believe is this right here, this bag here. Low temperature radiator to the, I forgot what that stands for, but that's to the upper Whipple. So I'll deal with that, and then this says passenger to the tank, to tank hose. I don't know. Let's see where that is. I'm not sure yet on this one. And I couldn't figure out where that one went, but I'm sure it'll turn up somewhere. So tomorrow or the next time I work on this, I'm going to knock out this, and I'm going to start on plumbing from here to that way. So, there isn't really a whole lot left to do, but we'll slowly work through it. I'm waiting on those O-rings yet for this side, so I could replace those O-rings down on the fuel injectors. And then like I said earlier, I got that hose coming from Whipple. It goes from here to there, the longer one. There's still a whole thing that mounts here that I need to install, and then I need to do the hose crossovers. So this loops around to the other side, and then there's one in the back. Kind of flows fuel through there. I don't know. Well, that's it for tonight. I'm headed to bed, and we'll be back. We'll be working on this again soon. Okay. Tonight, after some thinking, I did not like this hose drooping down over here. I've looked at some of the FatHouse Performance builds, and they don't have it drooping over there. So here's what I did. I took this apart. I lopped off, let's see, I don't know where I put that piece that I just cut off. Here it is. I took off this much, about 10 inches. Cut that off of there, and I got it to tuck right here real nice, like this, which I think looks a lot cleaner. I installed the throttle body, and I installed part of the intake tube here, and it all fits. And this hose here, which goes to your reservoir, I looped it down and around, and I put it underneath here. So it just makes a loop down through here. And now I cut a little hunk of about an inch of this off so I could get it to go down further. And in a moment I will be right back, and I'll show you what this looks like as the final product. Alright, this is what this looks like. Now just imagine the throttle body and the tube on there, which I'll bolt it back on there here in a minute just to show you guys. But this is going to be like this. Once that throttle body and all that stuff is like that, this will be tucked like this, and then I'll probably zip tie it to something along the way, and I think that looks nice and clean. So that's the plan. And trimming this hose, this 90 down here, just lowered everything, and I kind of angled this at a 45. So once it's all together in this hose, it'll all pull over. Plus I'll zip tie it here somewhere like that, and it'll look nice and clean. So that's the plan on that. Now the passenger side, I ended up building this evening. So I built this nice straight, and I went and I bought a spring tension clamp And then, as you can see back here, I put that straight fitting there, and this will snap in there, and it's a straight shot into there, and then I'll zip tie it all nice and clean up against the blower. So I'm still waiting on the O-rings, which are supposed to get here tomorrow. I need to finish up my fuel rails on this side before I plug everything back in, so I'm just kind of holding off right now on that side. Oh, and Whipple sent me the correct length fuel hose, which is from the firewall to here, which is 11 inches, and it snapped right in and fit perfect. They mailed it next day from California to Missouri in one day, free. So that's that. Alright, I'm going to continue doing more plumbing. I like how this turned out. It's a lot cleaner, and I just didn't like that drooping hose. So let's see what's next. Okay, I just wanted to show you guys this is what it looks like. I'm not sure if I got that rotated 100% correct, but it's on there, and then there's the nice tucked driver's side heater hose. I know I'm being a little extra here, but I like my stuff neat, clean, and organized. That drooping hose was just bothering me like something terrible. My OCD. But I've seen other people do this, and I've said they're saying, well, how do they do it? If they could do it, I could do it. So I think everything's looking good. I'm sure this will be okay once I start plumbing to it, that bottom stuff. But yeah, it looks clean. I'm happy with that. Alright, let's move along. Alright, I just put the lower radiator hose back on. And I'm going to go dig out the fans, and I should probably put the fans in now. That way that's here before I start plumbing the rest of this stuff. I should probably get as much as I can in here. Still unsure about this guy here. I have to figure him out. I think it goes to that evap thing, but we'll see. So I'm gonna get the fan in and just keep going. Alright, the dual fan setup is back in its home. Starting to look like a car again. Let's see what we could do next. Kind of have these hoses hanging out right now. We'll figure out where they go next. I don't know, maybe put the lid on? I'm not sure. Really wish I could have dealt with all the fuel line stuff, but fuel rail, I'm waiting on those O-rings. Well, I'll find something else to install tonight. Let me look through some of these bags. Okay, I'm kind of not going in the instruction order. I'm digging out the airbox stuff and this little tank. So you need to find this bracket here, and the bracket gets bolted to there like that. And we're using these 4 little screws. They're 6mm by 14mm socket head cap screw. There's 4 of them. That goes together, and then these 2 here, you need to find this piece here, and it gets screwed into there. So I'm going to work on putting that together. Just kind of wanting to see how this lays out before I run these hoses. It's kind of the idea I got right now in my head. So I'm just jumping around, really. Okay, that's what that's looking like. Just bolts into this side like that. Alright, we're working through this. You need to get this plate and bolt it into here. So I got it. There's threads. From what I understand, it goes that way. It's this way. Yeah, it's that way like that. With this little piece pointing up. And it takes these little bitty tiny screws. You need an Allen. It's metric. Let's get that together. Alright, nothing too spectacular here, but that plate's now on there. So, looks like this ring is next. This would be this. As you go inside and onto these bolt patterns. Upon further review, that goes on there like that, into that bolt pattern, like so. And then this gets put in from the other side, from the inside, and you use these longer bolts. They're 20 millimeters long. Alright, that's kind of what that's looking like. Hopefully I got this in the right orientation. I don't know yet. It didn't really specify where that needed to be. But I'm not seeing it in that picture, so it's probably on the opposite side. Alright, see what's next. The next step was to put the giant air filter on. That's it. We knocked out 145, 146, we did 147. Now we're gonna go deal with 148. Let's see what that's all about. So I'm searching and searching for these bolts. 4 6mm by 12 millimeter. I found them, but I only have 2. Supposed to have 4, so well, that's great, isn't it? And they go in here. I need 4 of them. I've got 2. Thanks a lot, guys. I have to find two bolts somewhere, I guess at the hardware store. Trying to figure out where this bracket goes. Okay, little update here. I was able to push this weather stripping all the way around here. Kind of ended up with a little gap here at the end, but that's alright. So the factory one had a bolt that secured it on. You're no longer using that. It just kind of sits in there snug. And I've got this piece of weather stripping here, so I'm going to figure out where it goes. I think it goes on there. I don't think it goes here, but for sure it goes there. And the 2 bolts, I put 1 bolt here and 1 bolt there. What am I going to do? I need to go to a hardware store and buy some 2 bolts or 4 bolts or something. Yeah, the other weather stripping must go around that. Let me try to fight that on there. This definitely does not go on there. Or, I mean, it goes on there, but it ain't going to bend and make that shape. I don't know what they're talking about there, but it ain't happening. Alright, so I ended up taking the airbox apart because you clearly can't put it in as one big unit. I got the bottom in, and right now I'm trying to figure out how in the world you're supposed to route these hoses. The only spot you got is through here. So, doesn't seem like there's much room. Alright guys, this is kind of turning into a mess, but I'm working through it. Here are my thoughts on what I've found. Since I'm working on a GT350 here, I believe these hoses are too long and they're for a Mustang GT. Because I think the tank outlets are in a different spot for a Mustang GT. And since ours are right here on a Shelby, this hose right here is just way too long. I mean, if I had it on and everything's just in a kink, so I got it to route through, ignore this part. I got it to route through this opening here. The air box is pushed down, the lower air box is pushed down. This thing just needs to turn 90 into there, so I'm about to cut off about a foot. It all looks good, great. It all looks great in through here. It 90s down, and that's fine. And then it flows here pretty good. There's no kink or nothing. It just kind of 90s there. If you guys could see that. This one here. And it just needs to go there. So I'm gonna chop off a big hunk of this and clamp it and call it good. This little fill bottle, I don't have to cut anything off of it. It went on good, and I've got it looped down through there, and it goes underneath here. You can see that, and straight onto there, right in the middle. That one's good. This one definitely need to cut. Now there's going to be another one from here, and it travels that way somewhere. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm going to have to sneak it through this hole here somewhere too. This is all we got, guys, right here. Alright guys, this turned out pretty nice. I ended up cutting off this much of the hose. You don't need it, it's too long for a GT350. So it turned out real nice. There's no kinks, it just flows really nice. And a little trick is putting some tape around the frayed edge and then slip your clamp over and then take the tape off and then clamp it all together. So that's what I'm about to do next. Okay, there you go, here's the finished product. It just turns there, goes through there, and loops around, no kinks. Turned out real nice. I need to figure out where this guy goes. Well, I'm calling it a night because I'm really confused on all this. I'm trying to work on step 122, which it says route the supplied 90-degree intercooler feed hose. But I never saw a 90-degree intercooler, which I think is this. It was not in here. So I need something that turns 90 right here and then goes to the Y, but I don't have that piece, so I don't understand where I'm supposed to get that. Here's the Y, and all that came in this low temperature radiator to the CAC hose was these two here, and they're really long. And it came with this bag here, so beats me. Okay, I think I got this figured out. Since Whipple didn't supply me with the 90-degree rubber elbow that I needed, I made my own. So I made this out of some other pieces that I had. It was already a 90. And then I put the Y in there, like they want. Here's the Y. I didn't put the clamps on yet, but anyway. We got the one going down, which is this one. And it's going to go to that side. We got this one here that goes to one of the ports on the blower. It goes down and around, and it goes to the tank over here, which I need to connect it. And then this top of the Y goes up and around and then over to here, like that. And then this one goes into there. It's a cluster mess of hoses, but once I get the lid on and I get all this neatly routed, it'll look clean. But I think I'm done for the night. I had to sit here and figure that out because that would have bugged me. But I'm done for the night. That's it. I've had enough of the hoses.